Well, good evening. I'm just setting it up for a live on the way home from work from a little bit south of Dallas. I'm going to point it to the traveling scene. And I'm in Duncanville, I believe. And there was a police car right there, and I was about to turn right on a late yellow light. I saw him in the left before just, going through what he might take as an excuse for going through a red light. If it, depending on what they have. I don't think so much to do. And most of the people that are police, they got, and you could, do something which you feel is good for the community and pays, decent. It's like joining the military, right? So that you can have that security of income. And anyway, so I don't, I kind of hate the demonizing of things on a broad-scoped manner. Like judging people by their party affiliation, or their religion, or their atheism, or their paganism, or their it's maybe I've just seen it so much that it's been terrible. But then when you see it currently, along with all the other things, think of how all the school shootings, and yeah, pretty much all probably done by white youth, if you want to put it on a racial level, because it's not that race has nothing to do with it, I don't think. Well, the different characteristics of mind and body that go with certain ancestry. It's subjective, I believe. I don't, and we're programmed with bias, I believe. Because I was. That's why I believe it. Not because I read it, or, I got to get off the subject on this, because I don't believe something necessarily because I read it. And Kathy is a witness to that, I think. And maybe it's my fault. I'm slow to determine what we're seeing is, but I'm not like, saying everything is a false flag or everything is, made up or whatever. That's of course an extreme that exists among the population to some degree, and I believe I believe it because I experience it. I believe what I experience, what means something to me, what I focus on, a sense of purpose, I guess, might be part of it. Whatever you want to define it as, a thirst to have, or have stuff, or experience stuff, or, to me, that's all built into the human kingdom. And then our heritage, our genes, and the mind, with the genes, the genetic mind, which is the subconscious mind, has all the programs of how our strain has responded in the past. No matter what year it was. It's one strain that's growing. That's why it's a tree. It's depicted as a tree. It's got a lot of branches, but it's got a trunk. And the trunk, I guess, is the earth. Attached to the earth, obviously. And this creation is so magnificent in so many ways. It's hard to imagine that. Well, I mean, see, now I'm going to put my spin on it, right? But why not? Everything isn't just one way of thinking. And so I put my spin on it. And that, my hope is the T and no spin, if you want to put it in those terms. But they're not spinning, except in the the meaning of that as making something. They're creating something. They're making something. They're constantly making it. That doesn't mean that that's what's on their minds all the time. Any more than it's on our minds that we're creating something all the time. But I mean, certain things, yes, will be on our minds all the time for periods of time, and then it'll shift as we learn the ropes around whatever we're trying to progress in. And through everything we experience while doing that, that's the evidence of belief. Because belief, I think is, in the Greek, when Jesus was using the word belief, that word also encompassed trust. Like we believe in what we trust or want to trust. Or distrust, I guess, right? Yeah, of course. Or distrust. And it's all in degrees in between. Even different facets, I guess. We have, like, but I was thinking of the, maybe you can hear me better. I like getting that fresh air. When I hear something from the media, I'm listening for keywords that indicate a certain kind of awareness of alternative views of things. And, you know, I don't know what the next level thinks about the choices that humans are making. I know some of them, the killing is absolutely, don't reiterate it, that the killing is absolutely wrong. Humans killing humans. You know, and the thing with, comparing humans with animals and such, there's something to be said about benefiting from what we give our life to. And of course, that's a broad stroke that we give our life to, because it's our genetic connections and our societal connections. So I'm gonna jump to something else, and that is in the Heaven's Gate book. There's a document, and I'd like individuals that want to see it for themselves if this sounds interesting to them. So I'm not going to do it justice by talking about it now. I can't do it while I'm reading it, and I also can't legally. I mean, it doesn't have to be legal or not. Mark and Sarah can make it into an issue if they want to add to the case, like new evidence. Game that's being played, but I can't lose the game because I'm playing it with my life. That's the way I feel now, and I felt like that for a long time. After I didn't feel like that for a couple of years after I left. I can remember hearing myself. I played percussion. And my little thing that, I don't know what I did all. It was pretty hodgepodge, whatever it was. Flute, saxophone, percussion, harmonica. And I remember I was part of a little festival, and so it was my slot. I don't know whether I got 20 minutes or something, whatever it was. And it was just a bunch of people, maybe 30 people were there, watching. On a little grassy field. got bumped from the slots that I was supposed to get. But I get, they were putting together acts that they liked, and they wanted to give more time to certain ones. Probably a negotiation of that too. So, am I going to get to any points tonight? I usually get there to some of the parts. A lot going on for probably everybody. I mean, I shouldn't say everybody, because for some, they don't pay attention to the news. There's a large, percent of the population that just blocks it out. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think it's, everyone's going to get their lessons one way or another. And Kathy doesn't want to be part of the group of people that stood by while atrocities were happening. Like happened in Nazi Germany, World War II, World War I. That doesn't make them ordinary to say that that's happening in those places, in my mind. But people die. People lose their life. And call me stupid or whatever, I don't know, but I believe a spirit exists. And I believe that nothing is wasted by the next level. When there's goodness growing, there's goodness growing. And when you want to do something for somebody else, that was what Jesus taught. And Jesus wasn't Christian. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. To put it all down the toilet, as I can understand why some want to do or do to their various degrees. Doesn't really matter, I don't think, to be honest with you. I don't know, I could be wrong about that. Because I'm going to just jump to what Doe said about, because we've got the evidence of faith. We don't have to have faith anymore. We've got the evidence of the reality of beings that are not human, different organ structures from any humans we ever saw, and that they had a certain amount of communication with in various ways. I don't doubt that, because it sounds very next level to me that would be in the record books. That's coming out now because it doesn't matter. They can leak anything now, because it's been mixed up enough. See, the next level knows this is going to happen, because they've seen it happen before in equivalent ways, even though it's like a different coloration, a different, whatever the overall characteristics are that are different. More aggressive, less aggressive, the way that people grow, and the way that, testosterone works on the males to make them animalistic. They don't have to bear the pain and the suffering and the responsibility of what the female has to provide of the species. So they can just run around, and fight among each other for the mates, I guess. But just because they were in like Neanderthal vehicles doesn't if that's the way it started, then why not? I don't have any problem with that. I mean, there is evidence in the records. The Next Level leaves evidence. They want there to be evidence because they want people to learn for themselves what the truth is. More and more. And the truth isn't just black. It's not two-sided. It's a faceted, it's like a diamond or whatever. You know, it's got a crystal. It's got a lot of pockets to it. So no one should do anything because they should do it. I mean, but according to somebody else. They're doing it for somebody else. But it shouldn't be a should. That's the negative, because it doesn't work. That's the reason, Doe said. It doesn't work. Because you're not actually becoming, you're not having the desire to have what it is that we can think that we should have in order to accomplish going to eternal life. Being on, eternal enough life. Whether vehicles eventually all wear out or not, I don't know. I don't remember T and Doe saying anything about it. I got to get off on. I'm just following this tanker truck, but I think I'm going to get past him. A lot of time I think I smell fumes coming from him. Can you imagine that? No matter how tight their things are, there's still leakage. And maybe it has to be that way, otherwise it explodes. It's like it's something in motion. Because of all its components working together. Who came up with all these elements? How could they just happen to create themselves? What's the logic of that? I don't get it. I mean, I know some people have mathematical ways of trying to equate that, the possibilities of whether it was the amount of detail in this planet reflects the strength of mind, the power, the force of where it came from. Who let's say, for all intents and purposes, the Next Level has been doing things with planets for a trillion millennium times 1,000 or something. I don't know what the numbers would be, It's ridiculous. Because we measure in our little cycles, around the sun and Doe felt like the moon was put into orbit to be an observation post for the Next Level. Doesn't that make perfect sense? If you want to not be seen, but you want to be in close proximity and able to have more hands-on than you would have from a distance, understanding of what's going on. Makes perfect sense to me. I didn't think automatically. I mean, I didn't know that everything was going to make sense to me. I mean, there were things that didn't make sense to me, okay? I mean, I'm not saying that never happened. It did happen. I didn't understand why they were like, happy to see, I don't know if happy's not the word for it. There are things that are signs that the next level builds into the prophecy, builds into, it's in our heritage, those that came up the strain of what we know of as Abraham. So we have there is a, I guess you could call it a God gene, but it's not God by any of the definitions that humans put on the word, and that's been done. That's been done to disguise it. Because the space alien souls, they know how the garden grows. And they know that you can only feed the garden truth so fast. Without freaking people out. Now, they know that. Now, I don't know that's in the... I don't know if they have, the space alien souls are able to grow new vehicles Yeah, they can. They can control them, I think. That was the report that we got from Rael when he said that he was taken on board a spacecraft or someplace, was taken someplace and had experiences with two individuals. One was named Lucifer and the other one was named Satan. I thought that was kind of telling. Like they gave them those names on purpose. And they also could have been. Well, I mean, the word Satan actually is an English word for adversary. So it shouldn't have ever become, I mean, there should have been more words used to describe that instead of using the word Satan. And it should have had adversary in it. But that's the root meaning of the word. Instead of putting a condemnation on it. Because an adversary isn't necessarily the better party, the more good. Well, maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, the idea of having a sparring partner is where I was going with that. But I don't know if the next level has sparring partners, but to learn how to control vehicles. Yeah, well, yes, they do. That's right, because you have more strength in numbers, I think. Because I remember, whoops, jeez, got to move over. Wow, looks like there was a wreck here. Miles to go to my exit. Okay, I just went all over the place and I didn't make hardly any periods on anything. I see some folks in the chat room, but I'm not going to look at it right now. I'm going to try to get to it by, I will. I'm going to make a point to get to it when I'm finished. And that'll be in about 46 minutes. Or it'll be right before that. But I can always stop and pull over and catch up with you all. I think I might have to do that sooner rather than later. But so the school has with it different labs, I think, in the United Kingdom. And all those different labs are where we put our efforts. And the classroom, that's what I started to talk about. So I am going back to something that was relevant, to complete an orbit. We used to call it in the class, make an orbit with your thought. And I did it again. Let's make sure I'm going the right direction still. Everything seems to be working. Why am I going so slow? Because I'm thinking about things. Anyway. Tiendo said that there was more goodness in the world than badness. And then Do said, yes, but there's more numbers of badness. I don't know how to define that. You're not bad for living in the human kingdom. You're bad with the things that you do. But, what we do. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm talking about myself. When we make bad decisions, it doesn't mean when we make bad decisions, that doesn't mean we're bad people and we're going to hell. But the religions do that. That's one of the subjects I wanted to talk about a little bit. That, Moses said that when they initially, the next level wanted humans to have one mate, one partner, one, life partner. But they were promiscuous. So, they were, sleeping around all the time. And, the men dominating the women and some of the women, doing what they do. Because both sides, both genders have their positives and negatives, right? Different degrees. But even if I don't know, it's we learn from every experience, and there's no doubt that if you've been through a few incarnations, because there may not be more than that. Unless you go into the idea of, genes. And maybe that's actually a more accurate way of looking at it. That is, it could mean a lot of lifetimes in a certain way of looking at it. But in another way of looking at it, it doesn't have to be that many. Because the next level is really good at what they do. And they don't waste goodness when it's growing. And they can see that. They can see that vibration, I believe. I don't remember Tiendo actually identifying it that way. But I know maybe that's part of them seeing a light, like on a computer console, that got a little brighter among the other lights that it's observing. Because it's got sensors. It's, I guess, different measurements for different things. Different computer systems to measure different things. That's where humans get the ideas from. It's in the mind of the next level members. And the older members know that that's happening. And so when they come into the atmosphere, that's when things take off. Technically, with science and invention. That's why right before the mid-1800s was also actually the beginning of the 1800s and somewhat in the 1700s too. And I'm not saying not before that as well. You can go back 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 probably. and find all these different periods of time that were like waves of growth and exposure to more of the reality of something happening around us that is beyond us. Seeing the stars moving, learning how to calculate their movement and see their patterns that they make and they form, and how to think about those things, and that the reason why the next level is behind all that development, right from scratch. And as the species is growing, oh, guess what? I'm just a half mile away from my exit. So I didn't miss it. Now let's see if I can hold my concentration long enough. That means I'm going to probably lose my train of thought again and again. Okay, well, let me see if I can get. I want to keep coming back to goodness because somebody stopped on the road. No blinking light. I don't know if I should call 911. Looked like there was actually nobody in it. Come to think of it. Yeah, that or they were very small. Oh, is that where we are? Oh no, that's not. This is another one. This is much too close. Well, I don't got a turn yet. I don't know what I'm doing, I guess. You know what I should do? I should stop and look at what the chat room's going on. And there's a place I can stop right up there. Well, let me make this turn first. Well, folks, is anybody there? Actually, I can turn it now. I'll just stop in a second after I make this turn coming up. Oh, this is the way I came back this time. Through the something going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4 like police lights. Vehicles going flashing. Might be a construction thing. There's a fire engine there too, maybe. 2 fire engines. I think it does smell like something happened there. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of conversation going on. Old School Dave, hello. Rainrot, hello to you. And Kahab 52, hello. And Goose Gates, streams are keeping me sane lately. Thanks. Cool. I'm glad. Anyone else scared right now? Yeah, definitely. But I'm kind of numb to it sometimes. And I mean, I was scared. 9/11 happened. I left home. I was in 30 miles from New York City, and that was I mean, and also when the Iraq War happened, I didn't feel scared. Even from 9/11, I didn't really feel scared that much, but it just felt so huge emotionally to handle what happened there, And then when I dig it, so it was a wake up for me. Anyway, but now it's I don't know. Let me put some legs to what I'm talking about, what I'm thinking about, because I found something in the archive in my mind of what things that Tiendo taught about it. And it was in 1994. There's a meeting tape where Riccoti asks Doe whether it would be right to, go on the street corners with a sign and to be that kind of bold in the street, for the general public to see. And he said he didn't think so at this time. And I don't know if that applies to now, but that would be. I've done that actually. Well, not really, not with the sign, but I talked about Tiendo while I was busking sometimes early on until I thought that's not a really good idea. I mean, I did it a bunch actually, and I got some results from it that I wasn't. Were very detrimental. I had some young people on the street, because I'd play at night at Lake George while my daughter would roam around with her friends. I would take them there, and then I'd be busking with my whole setup, which included a loop station and sometimes a CD player, into my amplifier, the mics and everything. So I was trying to put on a good show. Maybe I should try to do that sometime again. Anyway, and the other thing, that was one thing that he said about it. I'm just trying to put perspective on this from what I feel is how Tiendo well, let me put the other part of that. He was also asked at that same meeting, I think, whether we needed to be concerned about that somebody might so hate what we're saying at a meeting or whatever it is that they might want to kill us or hurt us in some way. And what Doe said about that was that I actually have a reason for going into it this way. What Doe said about that was that he thought that people were more civilized than that. Now, it doesn't mean that everything Doe thought that was being expressed at that moment, because right now he might not say that at all. So, but what happens with this is that I think the best way to handle the fear from these events, because different people are affected in different ways, and doesn't mean that if somebody's not showing the same kind of signs of emotional upset and nervous breakdown, kind of worrying and being fear, if they're not showing it, doesn't mean that they're not experiencing it in their own way, and it has ramifications. It comes out as anger, it comes out as frustration, it can come out as like anger and even be violent. I know when I get angry, sometimes really angry, I'll hit the wall or something. I did that when I was like 19, I remember. And And I did it recently. I'm not proud of that. But it's not the worst thing that you can do, obviously. If you keep on wanting to get through it, and but to be perfectly honest, my advice is not worth a hill of beans when it comes to getting to the real direction to ask for help in. And that is actually literally to the creators of this planet and life forms on it. If that's, now I identify that as individuals, not like mythological creatures in the sky, or that sit around with crowns on their heads and rule over everything. No, lab workers that love their lab work like a gardener can love their plants, like a pet owner or a pet breeder can love their animals that they're breeding and training even to do tasks and things. I said that because I have a friend in Vermont that he and his wife are training, I don't know if they still are, but they were raising Vizsla. So yeah, ask for help, and then be open to change. And having a meditation can help. And the meditation that T and Do used, because I use it for when I have ailments. When I have certain aches and pains in the body, I envision the light from, I envision it as the light from Tiendo's mind, actually no. I think they were saying the Chief of Chiefs' mind. In other words, the older member's older member. Because there's 3 generations. The Chiefs of Chiefs, and then each of those chiefs has younger members, and that would be like Do and T, and then T's older member. But maybe the Chief of Chiefs is even a few more layers up. I don't know. I don't know how. They have experience with everything. There's nothing that can happen to us when we are asking for their guidance and then trying to put it in motion as we feel it, as we go in the direction that we want to go, even if that direction was, I'm not saying even, I'm saying that direction could have started when we were kids or young people, that we had certain visions of wanting to do certain things and certain experiences we were having, and thanks, Baby Yods. Baby Yoda. Gooske says, I am scared about the outside forces right now. Everything, feel like everything is against us. I've got the call and uh-huh. Okay. Uh no, I'm glad I stopped. If you need a new task, the next task, I think that not knowing how to deal with what uh, was happening in the world, or which to me is perfectly healthy. To not like try to get away from it. I think it's time for me to move on from this spot. Not that I'm the greatest judge necessarily of what's healthy. I mean, I just know from the Tiendo's classroom that asking is the key, and then turning the key is like when you see something happen, or you're looking at things with like that expectation of seeing an answer, and you don't, whatever way, or somebody says something at work, whatever it is, it comes through them to you, and what happens to me is I feel like I got an answer, and sometimes I would have it happen in dreams because I was probably too dense without the dreams, or I was too stoned or something to give me clues that I could actually turn into. So I might have got the dreams, because I needed them, not because I was like some high spiritual being that had dreams from God. But when I would talk about the dreams, that's what it looked like I was doing. I was like showing off that I've got dreams, and I wasn't really feeling that. I was showing off with it. I kind of wanted to give some evidence of the dream world, because Tiendo felt like the next level worked with our dreams, whether we remember it or not. When we can go to bed and ask to instruct the vehicle, ask to remember our dreams. It's like programming yourself to remember them better when you wake up. And I can't say that I really practiced that well. Every night you'd go to bed and you would have a number of things that you would say to your vehicle to try to get your vehicle to grow, to get your vehicle under control more. I'm saying that from experience. Before these times, a lot of things that I didn't really grasp. I was trying to apply things best I knew how, but I was also a slacker sometimes with that, and that ended up being the avenue of leaving. Even though it was a sign of being a little too pleased with myself, which is what he told me would keep me off the spacecraft if I didn't conquer enough of it. That's why she said it that way in a note. She didn't say it in person. She gave us notes. And mine said, a little too pleased with yourself. And another one was, likes to be seen as something special. And the third one was sarcastic with humans. Things that I had repeatedly jobs in kitchens. And not only in kitchens. So what I'm getting at, there is like a point to some of this regarding the two stories from things that Doe said in 1994 audio tape, that the civilization had moved ahead to where I'm not sure it's going to go in that direction of well, let me put it this way. I'm putting out the thought of Trump actually removing ICE, stopping ICE, and putting it on hold. And then doing things in a different way. Trying to do things in a different way, maybe, if they feel like they have to do it. Because no doubt there's some individuals that are criminals, but you know what? There's plenty of criminals in the United States that are citizens. I don't know that those criminals are any worse. But then again, if they are raping women, which is not like uncommon for people, especially from different ancestral background, might not feel like it's doing a bad thing for a woman to be experiencing pain and suffering. Might even think they deserve it, like they're being punished by them or something. And then there's the whole S&M where they make that into a thing, right? It's very crude. All that's very crude to me. But I mean, if I don't care where they are, I don't care whether they're immigrants or not. Whenever that kind of thing surfaces, you know, I think civilization has more people standing up for what women went through, both male and female, standing up for what women as a part of the species, as a as the spirit's growing, because each vehicle yields a new spirit, a new mind. Mind is actually a better word for it, because spirit has that religious connotation, and it really doesn't have a religious connotation. That's what was made out of not knowing the technicality of it, or the more accurate terminology to use of the mind, because that's what it is. If you look up pneuma in the Greek, it has to do with the mind. So that was another example to where the translators didn't do a good job. Trying to be brief, is one thing, but when you're going between languages, and when certain words form certain pictures in one language, you want to try to convey that picture. And they did a lot of that. That was an amazing work that I think John Hurt was the individual that did that. The Strong's Concordance. But we're never taking action because of prophecy. I think I'm kind of safe to say that. I'm not saying that it wasn't an influence on them, and but for instance, it was the fact that the Revelation 11 said that there would be two martyrs. And it's martyrdom in the correct sense when you know that what you're going to be saying, a lot of people are going to find fault with and accuse you of being a demon, I guess, or the Antichrist, or evil cult leaders. Look at the way the same society that is often justifying the wars and the way that the double dealing works, and and some justify the abuse of children. And the abuse of and the collateral damage is another sign of the lower forces, the space alien souls, that the humans were bred by, but humans have to make the choice every time. Every new human that's born is bringing their bag, their ancestral bag with them. Those are the spirits that are around them when that newborn is born into the family. Because those are the spirits that are around the parents, if there's parents. Because the spirits are, according to Tian-Do, and I believe this makes sense to me more than anything anyone else has made sense, even though there are people that can talk about it probably in an equivalent way. Even back when Tian-Do were around, they weren't like the originators of the idea that spirits are real, that deceased humans, and they have influence over the living beings, the ones in vehicles. And that we're responsible for which ones we entertain and which ones we don't. So if we're sitting around conspiring and thinking about doing something bad to somebody, we're entertaining influences that would love for you to do it. Because they've got it in their computer, their minds, their programs that are no longer able to change, as I understand it. Because the only way it can change the spirit, the mind, is by having a vehicle to have experiences with those choices and making different choices. That's what begins to build new mind, and it's by repetition of building that mind that mind gets built. So every time you have a thought that you know is negative about yourself or anybody else, that's not coming from the next level. They have no laboratory for negativity. That alone, there's people that are teaching that, but a lot of times what you find with Tian-Do is they're teaching that and a lot more. And there's people that are teaching that and a lot more. I'm not gonna say that, because everything that Tian-Do were teaching, that became available in the atmosphere for those that were pulling on that thread. And it's not important whether Tian-Do were the first ones to pull on their own threads, because the next level built it in. It's in the ancestral DNA. Understandings about the greater realities that we can't see. Even if we don't know how to technically measure it still. See, I don't think humans know how to measure spirits, discarnates. I don't think the next level gave them an easy way to do it and get the same results over and over. Now, I could be wrong about that. I saw a video of somebody that was getting an image from somebody else that saw an image. And she would describe the image that the person was looking at, would then actually had words on it. And she used the same words that were on it. And she said that she saw it as like a shadowy kind of thing, but then the words. So, but why not? If our thoughts are on the radio wave spectrum, like Tian-Do felt, was the case, and that humans just haven't been given a way of decoding that, identifying that. Oh, this is great. I'm at the place where there's the blinking yellow light coming from the opposite direction. So that's how you go to that direction. That's the way we first came. So, I'm almost at my destination, 9 more minutes, and I'm really going to try hard not to miss my next turn because I'm talking too much, or not too much, but I am focusing on but my eyes are still seeing what's ahead of me, and is that, am I being given the wrong directions every time this, with the GPS? Because swore they were telling me to take a left there. That's more like it. Yeah. cemetery. There's a cemetery here. This direction. When I first met Kathy, the first thing we did was together was went to the cemetery in the town that I lived in, and there were a lot of old graves there. We didn't do anything. There's nothing like ceremonial about it. Kathy's just been drawn to cemeteries her whole life. She feels like she's freeing spirits, and I realize that that's altogether possible. What the hell? I've never gone this way before. I know where I'm going to come out. Yep. I was on this road before when I got scammed, which I talked about in the last live stream. I mean, I didn't actually get scammed, as far as I know. But somebody put in an order and then they wanted me to cancel it, a package delivery. And they were insisting, and they threatened me and said, that's a big hole. It's a good thing we got this higher car than the last one we had. I guess I should be showing you this. Not that I really want to see a holy road, right? Now this is good. This part's easy. I should have had it on there the whole time. So what good was it to look at me, right? Okay. Wow. This is a bridge that was fixed. I don't remember that from last time. So maybe I'm not going to come out where I think I am. Now it's 14:10. Okay. So, folks, I guess I don't have anything. Well, I was going to read the stop where I'm not conspicuous to somebody. You know, somebody sees in these farms. Oh, here's a spot by this reservoir. Okay, so the orbit concludes into a hole. Yeah, I mean, I don't, you're expressing it in your own way, you know. Each one of us is gonna feel right about in our attempting to interface with the next level. Right, the soul is here to have experiences with the vehicle and to take it over, is the, you know, so that the goodness prevails because the individual wants to be good in some way, shape, or form. And good isn't just like, it isn't like what it's the way that the next level members are automatically, no, well, not automatically, have become wanting us to make the choices that we can come to recognize are That's the misinformation mind, and that's imposed on us. When something is imposed on us, that's one of the big signs of the lower forces being the mind that ways of delegating who gets this money and that money, and then because we don't get enough money, they're imposing on us their will on what to do with the big chunks of money by only giving us a little, but it's but see, that's because this is the human kingdom. It wasn't designed to work, Tiwendo would say. It was designed to be outgrown. In other words, the individuals that are being the most human, and it's not a bad thing, but it's just something to outgrow. Like the people that were thinking they were justified to kill other people if they didn't agree with them. Have a fight with somebody and, even kill them, and there's no ramifications to it. You just have to get away with it so somebody else doesn't kill you. Then you become, then they end up having wars for resources. And this is happening on the tribal level. But some of the tribes are more cooperative with one another, especially the ones that start to be farmers. That along with hunting, but then when humans came into the mix from, Europe and stuff, then they went about conquering the ones that went west and things like that. And they're primitive that they'll go conquering. Now, but at the same time, why wouldn't they be allowed to sail their boat to where they want to go and land, and then find out that there's people living in that area, but if they're not developed so that this, and then they all have their self-interests. They're attracted by the women, and then interfering with what was happening. At the same time is nobody really owns the land, but the ones that are on it at the time should be respected for what constitutes their area of nature survival and thriving in that area. So they could be growing all kinds of things, and they trade with each other, with other tribes and things. So the same thing is happening, of course, on a global scale for a long time. And as soon as they were able to have ships that could go around, they started to have the East India Company, and I don't know what I'm getting to, but it's at the end of the cycle. And it's just a matter of how long the next level allows it to happen. And it can get tougher and tougher. But I think that the next level is not going to give us more than we can handle. But that doesn't mean is people dying in droves. It's not that the next level is about death. The next level is about choosing life, and that's been abused now, by the right, to where they think abortion shouldn't be legal, except under certain circumstances. So that was good that there was some compromises. because it should be legal, because it should be the person that's pregnant's choice. And that's why Tiendo said that it wasn't right or wrong. But it was the choice of the person, whether to do it or not. And so pro-choice is the more of the next level way of thinking, because that's the way they are about everything. Even the things they don't want humans to do, like build weapons to kill other humans with, they allow it to happen. Because they were developing the school to be a free will school. You don't do anything because you're supposed to do it, even though sometimes it's good to have things that give us ideas we believe in that give us more restraint by exercising. And if you want to see all the ideas that Tiendo had about the better behaviors, then get familiar with the website that has the documents on it, major and lesser offenses. That's part of the book. Those show the characteristics that they're trying to overcome. They're hard to read, because one of them says, not trust your own mind. Because there's actually a higher mind that is trustworthy, and our own minds aren't that trustworthy. How many of us want to act a certain way, and then we find ourselves not living up to that? Know that we can't be trusted in certain circumstances. It's a good thing to do, but we justify it, whether it's for entertainment or fulfillment or emotions or out of anger or as a business model, way to make money, and really don't like doing this one thing because of what. There's a certain amount of taking unfair advantage of somebody that might be an employee, or I'm just making things up, but things that probably have their reality. And when people make more and more compromises on things like that, they become more filled up with what is, they lose some of their goodness that they have. But every time you make the right decision, and you recognize a better decision, that's what's right. A right decision is the decision that you recognize as right for you. And that's not harming somebody else. We're not taking that to an extreme of disagreeing with that person, them harming somebody. There's all these different twists of mind that you can have with a lot of this, so that is 100% consistent. So The Power of Goodness is a document that you can find it on my blog, because I don't think it's in the book. It may be on the website. I don't remember anymore now. But because T wrote The Power of Goodness, and it's the only finished product from that T wrote that we have, I think, from her. So it's on my blog. sawyerhg.wordpress.com, and it's you can search on the words "power of goodness," I think, to find the link. And if you don't, for some reason, send me an email or something, a way you can get it, because it's an astounding document. It has to do with magnetism and the power to give out goodness. The power of attraction is the power that's inherent in the giving of yourself too. Okay, a moment. Yeah. This is Bumpy Roadsville. I don't think there's anybody there. So I'm just going to stop. And look at this a little bit more. Is this out west? Oh, it's in the Dallas area. Yes, so depending on where you are. So more potential for badness. Yeah, more potential for badness is when you're when you have more options to do things. Oh, okay. Okay, I just had to take a phone call, so I don't know if that was recorded. That's the next level for discernment, yes. This might be a dumb question, but what is goodness in the view of the next level? It's service to the next level is the highest form of goodness. And I mean, treating people kind, being tolerant of others, wanting them to, that's in relationship to others, not killing one another, outgrowing that. Because that, killing one another and justifying it is the kind of things that is still in our animal genes for some of us, for most of us. I guess, I mean, that's where it comes from. The next level is above that. They don't do that. I mean, you can say, well, do they cause the earthquakes and recycling, and so they're killing humans? And yeah, but they're an evolutionary level above us. And you can see that in thousands of ways. Like, we wouldn't exist if they didn't create us to exist. And so we're their creation, so they actually own us all, whether we like it or not. But they created us so that we'd have our free will. So we can even reject that they exist and think that we're the creators of everything. And we are the creators of our own reality. And that reality can be distorted. And it is distorted. It's automatically distorted because that gives us the free will when the next level brings the truth each time they do in a civilization. And the last time it happened was during the time that Jesus and the rest of his crew was there, including his older member, the soul we're talking about, that took those vehicles. Guy's comment, I didn't get rid of it. I'll have to play some more again. I don't have a big repertoire though. Do you know Walter White? No. The Lord's Prayer, right? Stresses from temptations must be from the lower level. And be dishonest to people. And be dishonest to people about things that are significant. Not like white lies or something like that. Our own minds trick us, yes. Oh, I see Kathy's there.